different varieties.
Good evening, everyone. We'll call this regular meeting of the Laramie City Council for December 3rd to order, and I will invite you all to join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. City Clerk, please call the roll.
Gabriel.
Here.
Newman.
Here.
O'Doherty.
Here.
Pierce.
Here.
Richardson.
Here.
Shumway.
Here.
Somerville.
Here.
Cumbie.
Here.
Harrington.
Here.
That's 9 present and 0 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. We will move on to public comment on non-agenda items. If there's a member of the public wishing to speak to the council on an item that is not on our agenda this evening, go ahead and come forward in the room. Seeing none, I'll close public comment period and move to the Vice Mayor for changes to the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the following changes to the agenda be approved. Number 1, that we add the proclamation for Wyoming Masons Day. Number 2, that consent agenda item be added, license, temporary use of a Laramie County retail liquor license within city limits for Delancey Enterprises, LLC, at Laramie Community College on December 13, 2024.
Second.
And number 3, item that consent agenda, item number 9O, be moved to item 10A on the agenda.
Is there...
Clarify that we're adding 9Q for the temporary use.
Thank you, Councilor.
And then I'll second that.
Okay, great. All right.
Is that so clarified?
Yeah, that seems sufficient. And so, Vice Mayor, we'll move back. I suppose all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say no. Okay, the changes have been accepted. Vice Mayor, I'll move to you to set the agenda.
I move that the agenda be set as changed.
Second.
Motion by Cumbie, seconded by Richardson. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, say no. All right, the agenda has been set. Thank you, everyone. If you're following along, just for members of the public, we'll refresh the agenda in the Agenda Center. So if you're looking at it now, just refresh that. We'll get items added to it so that you can have an accurate agenda before you. We're going to move then to proclamations. And we just have one this evening. The Worshipful Grand Lodge of Ancient, Free, and Accepted Masons of Wyoming. Whereas on December 15th, 1874, the Grand Lodge of Ancient, Free, and Accepted Masons of Wyoming was chartered in the territory of Wyoming in Laramie City, Wyoming. And whereas Wyoming's Grand Lodge of Ancient, Free, and Accepted Masons celebrates 150 years of Masonry on December 15, 2024, and whereas Laramie Lodge number 3 of the Ancient, Free, and Accepted Masons was chartered by the Most Worshipful Grand Lodge of Ancient, Free, and Accepted Masons of Colorado on September 28, 1870 at Laramie, Wyoming, and became a constituent lodge of the Grand Lodge of Wyoming on December 15, 1874, when the Grand Lodge of Wyoming was chartered. And whereas Wyoming Masonic Lodges promote strong bonds among members, serving communities and charitable endeavors through a brotherhood of shared experiences and a dedication to moral principles. And whereas for the past 150 years, the Most Worshipful Grand Lodge of Ancient, Free, and Accepted Masons and the members of Laramie Lodge number 3 have generously given their time, talent, and resources to better their communities under the Grand Lodge of Wyoming. Now, therefore, I, Brian Harrington, Mayor and President of Laramie City Council, do hereby proclaim Sunday, December 15th, 2024, as Wyoming Masons Day in honor of the 150th anniversary and extend sincere gratitude to its officers and members, past and present, for their accomplishments, commitment and dedication to the Laramie community as a model of courtesy and caring. I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Laramie, Wyoming to be affixed this 3rd day of December, 2024. And we have Andrew McCleggy, Gary Eag, Ronald Van Ekeren and Cal Van Z. And sorry, I probably butchered like 90% of that, but I'd invite you gentlemen forward if you'd like. Thank you for being here. If you'd like to say anything, the floor is yours. Just push, microphone's on for you. Thank you, City Clerk.
Your Honor, Vice Mayor, Councilors, Andrew McCluggage. No, that's okay. It's a fine Scottish name. Worshipful Master, Laramie Lodge number 3. My senior warden, Gary Eggy. Ron Van Ekeren, who is, he's our current historian, but has done everything you could think of, probably too much. And you guys probably know Cal Van Z, who is our secretary and also a member of several of these grand bodies that you mentioned. We just want to say thank you for honoring our request to do a proclamation for us. You may or may not know it. We've been operating under your noses for 154 years in this city, 150 years under the Grand Lodge of Wyoming, and if you're not familiar with it, you all should be very proud that our state's grand body was founded, as the mayor read, December 15, 1874 in this city. That's a very rare occurrence to have a grand, that's the body that allows us to do our work. You probably know us from serving ice cream in the park. We love doing it. We'll do it again this year, I certainly hope. Again, thank you. We're right across the street if you guys ever have any questions or want to say hi or want to petition for membership. With that, I'll open it up to my line officers.
Please.
I think you've covered everything.
Come on. Well, thank you again.
Thank you, and we would invite you folks up to have your proclamation. We'd like a picture with you if you'd do the honor. Oh, this is just a swinging door, so come on through.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Congratulations. Sorry. You should
Who would like this?
How are you?
I suppose you gotta take it. You feel like the right person. And we'll move around you guys. You just find a spot and we'll...
So let's see. Jane, can you move over just there? Yeah, I think.
I didn't say anything this time.
Let's see, Sharon, can I have you and Micah maybe spread out just a little bit?
Thank you, Nancy.
Yeah.
You're a hero.
Pat, would you mind? Yeah, there we go. I think we got it. Sharon, just a little bit more. Yeah, thank you. Okay, 1, 2, 3. All right, thank you guys.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate that. Thank you.
How are you? Good.
And councilors, we have nothing by way of public hearings or announcements, so we're going to move to disclosures. Any disclosures by the city council members? All right, we're going to move to the vice mayor for approval of the consent agenda.
Thank you. I move that the consent agenda be approved and that each specific action on the consent agenda be approved as indicated.
Second.
Motion by Cumbie, seconded by Pierce. City Clerk, you can call the roll, please.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
Cumbie.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 nos, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. Consent agenda has been approved. We'll move on to item 10A, which is headed to you, Councilor Pierce.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the letter of support for Wyoming Horse Racing LLC Laramie Off-Track Betting OTB property and authorize the mayor to sign.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, motioned by Pierce, second by Cumbie. Who would like to take this item? City Manager, please.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The Wyoming horse racing representatives requested to meet many months ago, I believe in July, with representatives of the city, at which time myself, the vice mayor, and the mayor met with representatives of Wyoming Horse Racing LLC. Their intention at that time was just to let the city know that they intended to pursue operation of an off-track betting facility here in Laramie. Under Wyoming state statute, there are 3 allowed operators. Currently, we do have 2 of those 3 operating within the city and county. This would allow in that 3rd operator, which is Wyoming Horse Racing. Again, they are not seeking your approval by law tonight, but rather had asked if you would entertain this letter of support acknowledging their operation in Laramie. To relay to you some of our conversation, we talked to them about operating within the city and within the downtown district, discussed parking pressures and requirements in the downtown district. We also discussed the city's requirements for developing or redeveloping properties in the downtown district, and we're assured that they intended to adhere to all municipal laws pertaining to the redevelopment of the site, and that they would also pursue parking to ensure that there would be ample parking downtown, at likely an off-site location from where they intend to operate. So with that, you're asked tonight to support this letter of support, which they intend to submit with their application to the Wyoming Gaming Commission, and I believe also to the Board of County Commissioners. Representative of the project is here tonight. If you have questions, that is Steve Jimenez, the Executive General Manager of the, I believe, 2 locations that Wyoming Horse Racing currently operates in our neighboring county of Laramie County, and I believe within the city of Cheyenne. If you have any other questions for me, I'm happy to answer those, as will the project representatives.
Thank you, City Manager. And Mr. Jimenez, did you have anything you'd like to add? You're sure welcome to. Just push the button until the green light comes on.
Well, thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members.
Yeah, welcome.
Most of our competitors do not follow this process. We like to talk to the city, county, and make sure that, you know, we're not forced to go in. You know, we want to be good partners, and we don't feel like we're like bullying you into approving us or not. We just want to, you know, our gaming commission to know that we did, you know, talk to you guys and to the county so that we're able to get support from you, and then obviously approval from the county. So we're not, you know, we're just here for a support letter. As the city manager mentioned, I mean, we've been good partners with every community we've worked in, and actually we have 3 sites in Cheyenne. We opened a recent one that's on the Colorado border, which is the largest OTB site in the state, and that's gone exactly what we thought. We wanted to bring in people from out of state to Cheyenne, and that's what we've accomplished that, and we're actually looking to expand that facility with hotels and other amenities.
Wow.
Thank you.
So thanks. Any questions? I'm more than welcome to.
Councilors, any questions? Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah, please, Councilor O'Doherty.
Downtown seems like a bad place for this, given the parking problem. I noticed at the other gambling establishments that there's pretty much cars parked there all day. So do you think people will really walk to another parking lot somewhere to use your facility?
Well, obviously, we have talked to the bank that's next to us, and they've, you know, and just discussions have agreed to talk to us to allow us to use their parking lot when they're obviously off hours, which is typically when we get most of our busier times, is in the evening. So that is, you know, literally right next to where we are at the moment. So I think that would greatly help us with the parking situation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Other questions? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
No questions generally, council members? We'll turn it over to the public. If there's any member of the public wishing to speak to this item, go ahead and come forward or raise your hand on Zoom. Seeing none, back to the council for the vote. Counselor Richardson, please.
Is it possible to give comment?
Yeah, please, comments now, yeah.
Part of my concerns about this are just the bedding piece of it and low-income populations, how that impacts low-income folks more so than people who maybe, and there is the opportunity for it to become a problem with anything, but the impacts, the monetary impacts of this on low-income folks is worrisome for me. I also worry a bit about if this is going downtown and we are trying to kind of build up the vibrancy of downtown, and I think about I have gone to Vegas in bed, and you just kind of stay inside these bedding facilities, and so I also have a few concerns about it bringing people to this facility, but not really much anyplace else. So those are my two concerns. And
Thank you. Anyone else? Counselor Newman.
The bank only looks like there's like 7 or 8 spots, so I don't know how that could help with the parking. Personally, I don't care how this vote goes. I think it would be a good additive, but then there are other concerns. My concern is the letter of support, and I don't want to start getting into the habit of doing this, and that's my only comment.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Seeing none, City Clerk, I'll have you call the roll.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
No.
Pierce.
Yes.
Richardson.
no.
Shumway. No. Somerville.
No.
Cumby.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
That's 5 yeses and 4 noes, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That item has been approved. We'll move on to item 11. Counselor Gabriel, sorry, forgive me.
Thank you, Mayor.
It's all stacked up.
I move to award Braun NW Inc. the remount refurbish of MS 144 Type 1 ambulance in the amount of $168,781 and authorize the fire chief to sign.
Second.
Motion by Gabriel, second by Pierce. Chief, please.
Honorable Mayor, members of council, the item before you tonight is, as it says, a refurbish of one of our ambulances. Just a little bit over a decade ago, we committed, we did a big bid process and went with Northwest Braun for doing our ambulances, and then they refurb them as many times as the box passes inspection. So this is an ambulance that would go back and get a new chassis put under it, move the old box over. We received an original proposal for $191,125, which exceeded the budget that was approved last year on the fleet schedule that was approved by council. And the budget we had was $165, so we rejected that, sent it back to them, and reworked our specs, and we got it down to, they came in at just over 163 and listed a heater in the back as an option. So we need the heater in the back, so we would be just a little bit over the 165, but I've talked to Director Wade, and she has the extra money we need for that in the budget amendment you'll see later tonight. So we're asking that you approve the remount of MS 144. I stand for any questions.
Thank you, Chief. All right, councilors, any questions? Great. All right, we'll turn it over to the public. If there's any member of the public wishing to speak to this item, go ahead and come forward in the room or raise your hand on the Zoom call. Seeing none, I'll close public comment. Councilors, anything before vote? Chief, I would just say I appreciate your efforts. This is certainly a great way for us to save some money on these fleet upgrades. So smart idea, and we sure appreciate it. All right. Go ahead, City Clerk, call the roll.
Gabriel.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
Pierce,
Yes.
Newman,
Yes.
Cumby,
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 nos, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That item has been approved. We'll move on to item 12. Vice Mayor Cumby, please.
I move to award the bid for the indoor meeting space expansion project to FCI Constructors of Wyoming LLC of Cheyenne, Wyoming, in the amount of $381,000, along with a contract contingency of $38,100, and to approve Resolution 2024-96, amending appropriations for the fiscal year 2025 through 2026 biennial budget of the City of Laramie, Wyoming, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign.
Second.
Motion by Cumby, seconded by Pierce. Director Webb, welcome.
Mayor, Council, the meeting space expansion project is at the landfill. The current space out there that staff has is about 247 square feet for 10 employees. Pretty small. It's kind of a break room, meeting room, locker room area, and then a small office and a restroom. We hired GSG Architecture a couple years ago to work on a design to expand those areas. They came up with a pretty nice, what we think is a pretty nice design. It expands the main meeting room, allows for a dedicated locker room so that people aren't changing their dirty clothes next to the people that are eating lunch. Has a dedicated storage area at the landfill. They have some sensitive equipment, temperature probes, methane monitoring equipment, some survey equipment that needs to be stored inside and it's currently just kind of shoved over in a corner. So there's a dedicated storage area for it. And then also the project will upgrade the fire suppression and the HVAC system within the facility. We went out to bid earlier this year, actually in the spring, and we received no bids. We talked to some of the contractors that we thought might bid on it, and they told us that time of year, in the spring, their schedules are full already. So they said, come back in the fall. So we went back out to bid in November, and we received 2 bids that actually came in pretty close together. And FCI Contractors was the low bidder, and staff is recommending award to FCI Contractors. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Thank you, Director Webb. Councilors, any questions? Okay. All right. We'll turn this over to the public. If there's any member of the public wishing to speak to this item, go ahead and come forward in the room or raise your hand on the Zoom call. Seeing none, I'll close public comment. Councilors, anything before the vote? Please, Vice Mayor.
I just want to say, Director Webb, I appreciate your forward thinking. As operations out there have expanded, and we've expanded greatly services and the number of personnel, it seems that this is a necessary piece in order to properly house our employees. So thank you very much for your work on this.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilor O'Doherty, please.
Yeah, I agree that we should show respect to our employees that work pretty hard out there. And as we know, it's dirty work and it can get pretty stinky. So I'm glad that they'll have clean space for eating and changing. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor O'Doherty. All right, anyone else? All right, City Clerk, please call the roll.
Pierce,
Yes.
Somerville,
Yes.
Gabriel,
Yes.
Newman,
Yes.
Shumway,
Yes.
Richardson,
Yes.
O'Doherty,
Yes.
Cumby,
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 nos, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That item's been approved. We'll move on to item 13. Councilor Richardson.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to authorize the Laramie Fire Department to submit to FEMA an Assistance to Firefighters Grant, AFG, in the amount of $550,964, and authorize the fire chief to sign the grant application.
Second.
Okay, motion by Richardson, seconded by Newman. Chief Johnson.
Honorable Mayor, members of council, annually FEMA, through the annual Assistance to Firefighters Grant, opens up a grant opportunity, and we apply every year for this grant. It's a 90-10 split, 90 paid by FEMA and 10% match. This year, the grant's kind of split in half. We're asking for $550,000 total grant award from FEMA. Half of it is it's a real solid grant application we'll be put in for, because it'll pay for training for a lot of our certifications that we achieve. Now, what it'll pay for is overtime for backfill for people that are going to the training, or if they're on overtime doing the training, it'll pay for that. It won't pay for the straight time. So that's really what we're targeting in the training, all the certifications. We've covered, you've got the list in front of you, so paramedics, firefighter 1, firefighter 2, fire officer, technical rescue, there's hazmat trainings. The other part, half the grant we're putting in for is a piece of equipment, and it's a mobile air compressor trailer that we'll be able to use on calls for refilling our air bottles. We also be able to use it out at the drill ground for training scenarios and stuff. So they can split awards. They can award the whole thing. They can award none of it. But if we don't ask, we won't. If we don't try, we won't get it. So anyway, so that's what's before you tonight. I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you, Chief. Council members, any questions?
I also have my training chief here. If you have a technical question, I'll get him up here.
Great, thank you. He might get away easy tonight. All right, we'll turn this over to the public. If there's any member of the public wishing to speak to this item, come forward in the room or raise your hand on the Zoom call. Seeing none, back to the council before the vote, please.
I just want to say thank you, Chief, for your attention to these grants and for bringing in over $500,000 to the city toward our provision of safety to the community. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. All right, anyone else? Okay, City Clerk, please call the roll.
Richardson.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Mr. Shumway.
Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 nos, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That item has been approved. We'll move on to item 14. Councilor Gabriel.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the Laramie City Council approve Resolution 2024-97, authorizing the upgrade of a .5 FTE position to a 1.0 FTE position in the Parks, Rec, and Public Services Department, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign.
Second.
Motion by Gabriel, second by Pierce. Director Bork, welcome.
Honorable Mayor, City Council, good evening. As it is indicated here in our staff report, we currently have a lot of our youth and adult recreation programs that are happily currently at capacity or near capacity. And within our division, or within our Parks and Rec department, and within the Recreation Division, we have a .5 benefited position that is already working for the department in our youth recreation programs. And we're respectfully asking that that be upgraded to a 1.0 fully benefited position. It's not going to solve the problems of our capacity issues, but it is going to allow for us to expand some programs, especially as we start planning for this upcoming summer. Yes, I know it's December, but we already are looking at our summer activities. especially by allowing that position to spend more hours supervising our provisional staff that actually do a lot of the actual running of the programs. And for the relatively small fiscal impact to this upgrade, because it's already fully benefited, I feel that it's a very worthwhile upgrade, and respectfully ask that the council and mayor authorize this upgrade. And I'm available for any questions if you've got any.
Thank you, Director. Questions, council members? Yeah, Councilor Richardson, please.
Gwen, thank you. If we were to approve this, how, and I'm sorry if I missed this in the report, but how many additional programs do you feel like you could add by bringing on?
I don't know that we would be adding any new programs at this point. It's really expanding the capacity of our programs. In addition to this, we're looking at some adjustment around within our recreation division. This position, once it was upgraded, would actually become a supervisory position that would oversee our Adventure Kids program and our summer camp program. And really, those are two of our programs that are currently at capacity, and our summer camp is always full. We look to be able to add some more capacity with our additional provisional staff onto that. And again, this would be in that more supervisory role, being able to handle those additional staff.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? Director, is the person in this position interested in I would assume, but I want to make sure to ask, they would like to continue in a full-time role?
Honorable Mayor, yes, that is my understanding.
Great. Any other questions, Council? Okay, we'll turn it over to the public. Any members of the public wishing to speak to this item can come forward in the room or raise your hand on the Zoom call. Seeing none, I'll close public comment. Councilors, before the vote, please, Councilor Richardson.
Just one comment. I will just say that I know from experience and other parents that Adventure Kids is always full with a wait list, and that leaves a lot of parents wondering what they're going to do with their kids over the summer. So I appreciate the ability to expand this program.
I would echo that. Anyone else? Okay, City Clerk, please call the roll.
Gabriel.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 noes, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That item has been approved. We'll move on to item 15, Councilmember O'Doherty.
I move to approve third and final reading of original ordinance number 2095, adding Laramie Municipal Code Division 7, Section 13.80, creating a surface water drainage utility fund, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign.
Second.
Moved by O'Doherty, seconded by Pierce. Director Webb, please.
Yeah, Mayor, Council, wasn't planning on getting into a whole lot of depth tonight just because we're at third reading. But I did want to just remind you, the proposal on the fee at this point is $1.67 per 500 square feet of impervious area. Your average single-family residential home would pay $10.02 a month. Last time we talked about this, I mentioned that we were talking with airport board representatives regarding a better definition as far as what's in there right now under section 13.80.020B4 exempts airports airport runways and tarmacs. The concern was that the word tarmac has many different meanings and people can construe that different ways. So working with the airport, we decided that airport property located within the perimeter fence of the secured airfield made sense to everybody. And so we have a secondary motion that we have for you tonight to recommend. You'll see there. The other thing I wanted to bring up was we had discussed some exemptions or credits for wheelchair or accessibility ramps. Our plan is to handle that through the credit manual to keep consistency. And that will come to you at your next regular meeting on the 17th. being in the credit manual just keeps everything consistent with how we do all the credits and will help us with our utility billing side and how that operates. The other item that we were requesting was low income. Director Wade and the city manager are working on revising the low-income affordable municipal services rates ordinance that we currently have and updating that. It's been a long time. And that is also going to be scheduled to come to you at the next regular meeting on the 17th. So I hope I've covered to date all the concerns or issues or comments that you've had, but I'm assuming there's more. And we have lots of people here tonight to help answer those if you have them. So
Councilors, any questions before we hop into amendments? I had one question. So there was a discussion about the credit process being maybe the easiest process for the accessibility exemptions. And it was noted that you would have to apply for a permit, and so that would sort of flag it for the city. We would know that then you would apply for a credit. Is that's still the direction? That's what you're talking about?
Yeah, Mayor, I'm sorry, I meant to cover that. We were trying to figure out internally in our office how we were going to identify where these are at. We got to go drive around town and find them. So the city engineer had talked with code admin, and they actually require a building permit. So we have records of those, and as a new one comes in, we can get notified from code admin that has occurred, and so that credit then can be passed along to the resident.
And then what would the process be for retroactively applying those credits? Would you just ask people to apply once they figure out they're eligible?
I think, Mayor, we're working with code admin to see if we can get those back records.
Okay.
And then that may require us to go out and just double check, make sure they're still there. And then also, if we can't identify them that way, yes, we'll ask people to let us know, and we'll go out and check it out.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions before we head into amendments? Councilor O'Doherty, did you have something? Please.
I just wanted to make an amendment.
Okay. I'm going to come to you for an amendment then.
Okay, I move to amend section 13.80.020.B.4, replacing the words airport runways and tarmac with airport property located within the perimeter fence of the secured airfield.
Second.
All right. Motion by O'Doherty, seconded by Richardson. Any discussion here, council members? Any questions? Pretty self-explanatory. All right, we'll turn this to the public. Any member of the public wishing to speak to the amendment specifically, go ahead and come forward in the room or raise your hand on Zoom. Seeing none, back to the council. Okay, City Clerk, you can call the roll on the amendment.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 noes, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That amendment has been approved. Councilors, any other amendments? Okay. Any questions before we go to the public? Great. All right, members of the public, now's your chance. If you would like to speak to this, go ahead and come forward in the room. Raise your hand on Zoom. Mr. Mattermore, please. You know the rules. We'll just need your name. You'll have 3 minutes.
Honorable Mayor, councilors, my name is Tom Mattermore. I was on the focus group for the stormwater fees. The general consensus of the focus group was that it should have been a flat rate and there should have been no credits or exemptions, because now we're writing a credit manual. And we're going to have people deal with credit manuals and credit applications and applications for exemptions. And we're surely going to have appeals once decisions are made. I think, if this is the road we go down, I think it's going to end up costing us more money. There is no doubt about the need for a revenue stream. But starting off at this particular price level, knowing full well next year it's going to have to go up, and probably the year after that, and it could be a never-ending thing. I thought, at least a lot of us on the focus group thought, start off with something that'll bring in $2 million a year, and leave it at that and see where you go. 135 million is going to be a tough nut to crack. So I would say, I haven't seen the credit manual. I don't think anybody has. It's still being written. So I think we should avoid it if at all possible. And I think it's just going to open up a can of worms. Thank you. That's all I've got.
Thank you. We appreciate you taking time to be here. Other members of the public wish to speak to this item? Mr. Stratton, please. Just need your name. You'll have 3 minutes.
Chris Stratton, Laramie 24/7. On this amendment, or on this entire bill, and the only thing that I have not seen publicly is the cost that, what are we going to be getting out of the larger players like the University of Wyoming, Walmart, that type of thing? That really hasn't been discussed much. Otherwise, I think it's a wonderful idea. We need roads, we need the infrastructure that has been neglected for years and years and years, and you guys have done an amazing job in trying to get something like this passed and completed. It'll be wonderful for all of us that are part of the city, and it's something that's definitely not a woke theory item, which seems to be a major conversation piece on the internet. It's something that we need and we definitely should have. I just want to make for sure that the large players are definitely putting in the money that they need to be putting in, and it isn't just an item that we, the taxpayers, are paying, what, I think it was $10 and something you said, not thousands. So I appreciate it, and I just am curious on that end of it, and if that could be clarified at some point in time, I would love to hear that data. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate you being here. Anyone else wishing to comment to this item? Come forward in the room or raise your hand on the Zoom call, please. Okay, seeing none, we will close public comment. Councilors, anything before the vote?
Could we have Brooks explain or expand on Chris's question?
On the financial question, is that the one?
Well,
sure.
Yeah, Walmart, UW.
Yeah, sure.
I'd like to hear that myself.
Yeah, Mayor, Council, all properties, $1.67 for 500 square feet of impervious area. So a 30,000 square foot to 60,000 square foot of impervious area is going to pay somewhere between $101 and $200 depending on where they're at. So the 60,000 square foot would be $200.40 per month. So it's every property owner, whether it's a business, a resident, doesn't matter. The only exemptions are those 4 exemptions that are listed. Other than that, it's all property owners, and it's equal across the board, $1.67 per 500 square feet.
Thank you, Director Webb. Okay. And Councilor Newman, please.
I'm still voting no for the same reasons I've said, just so that's out.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Yeah, please, Councilor Shumway.
Your Honor, I was unable to be here for the second reading. I want to restate my concerns. It's been 150 years that the public has not paid anything for stormwater runoff. We have other concerns that I think are of a higher priority, such as streets. Also, there's a need for a downtown parking facility, which between the two of them, that doesn't approach 135 million, but it's getting close to that. I would like to take care of that first and then come back and look at this, which is a priority. I don't doubt that we would have a benefit to a portion of our public if we had a stormwater system, but I'm going to vote no also.
Thank you, Councilor. Anyone else? Councilor O'Doherty.
Yeah, I want the public to know that we have studied this for a couple years now and have looked at what other well-run cities do. And we are not in a position that we can just provide this, this drainage storm drainage without some help. And we all benefit from storm drainage. If you drive on a road in Laramie and you hit a patch of ice, or if you walk and you hit a patch of ice, that's all because things aren't draining. So I think it's really important. And I think when we put off infrastructure because we want to be the good guys and not add any extra cost to our citizens, we're just putting it on the shoulders of our kids and our grandkids, and it's going to cost them a lot more. So the sooner we address these things, the better we all are. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Anyone else with a comment? Councillor Richardson, please.
I would echo some of that. I think some of the concerns there, if we don't take care of it now, it is going to continue to get worse, as Councilor O'Doherty mentioned, and then we are just looking at increased fees. And I would hope that addressing some of this drainage issue will also help some of the issues that are happening in our roads as well. I think with Councilor Shumway, that's a big one too. And I don't think any of us is like real thrilled about implementing a tax on our community, but in thinking about the long-term benefits, that is why I will vote yes.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other council members? All right, Councillor Richardson, I think, yeah, you said it well. I don't think anybody is reveling in this vote. I just wanted to add maybe a point about the authority granted to us by the state legislature to add this utility fund specifically for stormwater. So I think we all agree that there is needs in other areas of the city and other sort of like services the city provides, infrastructure the city provides. This is just the specific one that we were allowed to have a conversation about. And so that is why we're having the conversation about stormwater before we have it about streets, before we have it about parking, things of that sort. So, you know, I continue to support this. I think until we use the tools the legislature has handed us, they're not likely to hand us any others. So I continue to think that while adding a new fee is not something any of us want to do, it is just part of managing the city, and there is clearly a need for this. Councillor Shumway, please.
Thank you, and I probably should have asked this during questions. What does it require for this type of an item, $135 million eventually, to go before the public for a referendum, for them to vote on it instead of having the council carry the responsibility of making this decision? And that's just a question, whoever could answer that. What makes it something that the public would vote on instead of us?
Councillor, just so I'm a little more clear, are you talking about the $135 million worth of capital need, or the creation of a utility fund?
Utility fund.
Okay, I don't have an answer to that, but if there's a staff member that has an answer to that, Councillor Gabriel, please, and then we'll go to you, City Manager.
I think that would be something the council would consider in the future on a specific purpose tax, correct? I mean, that's coming up for, you know, in a couple of years, and I think that's the proper way to address that. But maybe staff can tell
City
us
Manager,
more.
anything on the specifically on the creation of a fund going to the voters?
So Mayor, I was going to suggest, as Councilor Gabriel had, that we have in the past had specific purpose tax projects that were related to surface water drainage. That would be an opportunity in the future for the council, for the public to vote on those projects. As you know, our SPT has been, I think the highest I can recall is about $80 million over a decade, shared with the county and the town of Rock River. But that would be an opportunity in the next few years. As to maybe more the legalities around your question, Councilor Shumway, I think I would defer to the city attorney.
City Attorney, do you have anything to add there on this bit?
Well, I haven't looked at this in a while. It would be part of it, and so I just have to look at it. No, I don't have a direct answer right now on what the procedures are for council having to put out a question to the voters. I don't know.
Thank you. Councillor O'Doherty.
Councillor Shumway and I attended the National League of Cities, and one of the talks was by a woman named Jenny Taylor, whose husband was killed in Iraq, and he was on city council before. And one of the lessons that she gave us is that we are representatives. We can't put everything to a vote of all the people. We have to have the courage to make tough decisions because we've been entrusted by the community to make those tough decisions, and we have more of the research than most citizens. So I just want to point out that this is something that takes courage, and I hope people will support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Doherty. Please, Janine.
Thank you, Mayor. I should have mentioned as well, there is a new tax option available to municipalities that could be a potential source of revenue for something of this nature. There are questions, however, around how that would affect our existing general purpose tax and specific purpose tax if we were to pursue the 1 penny municipal or quarter increment penny municipal tax that is available. So that is out there. It's only been tried once, and Casper did pass a few projects in this most recent election that are municipally focused. So I should have mentioned that, and I forgot about it. So it's just new.
Thank you, City Manager. Anything else, councilors? One note I would add, I believe the bill text has language in it that specifies that if a council defeats this, it cannot be brought up again until after the following election. So that would mean this would be a 3-year out conversation if you all choose to defeat it. Just by way of a note for you. Okay, City Clerk, I'll have you call the roll.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Newman.
No.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Shumway.
No.
Somerville.
No.
Cumby.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
That's 6 yeses and 3 noes, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That item has been approved. We'll move on to item 16. Councilor Richardson.
Thank you. I move to approve Resolution 2024-98, authorization and approval of full-time employee position for the surface water drainage utility, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign.
Second.
Motion by Richardson, seconded by Pierce. Director Webb.
Mayor, council, we now need someone to start working on the program. So as you recall, as we worked through the work sessions, we talked about a certain level of service and what it was going to take to get there. And part of that was staffing. A lot of that staffing will come later in fiscal year 26. But we need this position, it's an engineering technician position, to really help get things going. It's going to probably take us a month and a half, 2 months to get this person hired. And then we've got to train them on what we've been doing for the last 4 years to get where we're at. I listed some bullet points of some of the duties. This isn't a complete list of the duties, but I did want to highlight a few of them. This person is going to coordinate with our utility billing folks to integrate stormwater data into the billing system. We're not 100% sure what that's going to look like and what that lift's going to be. But this engineering technician is going to be working with the impervious area data and then working with utility billing to get that coordinated so that folks' bills are proper. This person is going to assist in drafting and maintaining the stormwater credit manual. They're going to respond to public inquiries. So if somebody calls in and they want to know what this is, or they have questions about the size of their impervious area, how we came to that calculation, this is the person that's going to handle that. And maybe most importantly up front, once we get this person on board, is going to be the public outreach and the customer service that they help with and provide. So with that, we're recommending that we get this hire moving as quickly as possible. As far as the funding portion for this item, it's, if approved, it comes later on the budget amendment that Director Wade will have. Take questions if you have.
Thank you, Director Webb. Council members, any questions?
I have a question.
Please, Councilor Doherty.
Thank you. Mr. Webb, is this an opportunity? We talked about how the university is not training that many PEs. Is this an opportunity to have like an engineering training working under a PE that could become a PE down the road? Is this a job that would be suited for that, or is it like an internship? Thank you.
Please.
Yeah, Councilor Doherty, through you, Mayor. This position's an engineering technician, not an engineering training, but an engineering technician could possibly be going that route, and would be a good opportunity if that's what they aspired for.
Thank you, Councilor Doherty. Any other questions? All right, we'll turn this over to the public. Any members of the public wishing to speak this item can come forward in the room or raise their hand on the Zoom call. Seeing none, I'll close public comment. Councilors, before the vote. All right, City Clerk, please call the roll.
Richardson.
Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
Gabriel.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 nos, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That item has been approved. Item 17, Vice Mayor.
I move that the Laramie City Council approve the grant agreement between the City of Laramie, Wyoming, and the Federal Department of Transportation for the development of the Reconnect West Laramie Plan in the amount of $250,000 and authorize staff to sign the agreement.
Second.
Motion by Cumby, second by Richardson. Mr. Gabatuller, welcome.
Yes, good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the council. The City of Laramie has been awarded $250,000 under the U.S. Department of Transportation's Reconnecting Communities and Neighborhoods Grant Program for the, what we're calling Reconnect West Laramie project. This grant supports the Neighborhood Access and Equity Program, addressing the significant transportation barriers that separate West Laramie from everything to the east of the interstate, the river, Snowy Range Road, and the railroad tracks. These infrastructure elements, I don't need to go into how they divide the city. We all know, and a lot of this effort was stemming out of the recent work we did in the West Side neighborhood, identifying some of these challenges as well. So this item is the first of, I think there's 3 on the agenda this evening to get this going. But this item is to execute the grant agreement so that we can move forward with hiring a consultant and so forth. Glad to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Gabatuller. Councilors, any questions? All right. We'll go to the public on this. If there's any member of the public wishing to speak to this item, you can come forward in the room or raise your hand on the Zoom call. Seeing none, back to the council before the vote. Please, Councilor Richardson.
I'm just super excited about this. Thanks for putting
Me
something
too.
like really uplifting after that last vote. I don't know if that was on purpose or not, but appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilor Richardson. Any other comments? Please, Vice Mayor.
I just want to say thank you. This is a big step in kind of connecting the city with West Side and some of the work that has been put out there over the last 2 to 3 years, so, and then some. So I think this is a big step and it's very exciting. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. City Clerk, please call the roll.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 nos, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That item has been approved. And I believe we are on item 18 now, which is headed to Councilor Newman.
I move to approve Resolution 2024-99, amending the fiscal year 2025 and fiscal year 2026 biennial budget of the City of Laramie, Wyoming, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign.
Second.
Motion by Newman, seconded by Gabriel. Director Wade. Welcome.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Councilors. Normally, when I would present a budget amendment to you, I would be using words like routine and things you've already approved, but that is actually not the case for this evening's amendment. So we're going to dive in a little bit deeper than we normally would and take our time to make sure that you have an opportunity to consider the $9,707,753 budget amendment you are being asked to approve this evening. Now that amount sounds really big, and it is, but I would like to point out, for starters, that $5 million of the requested amendment is the amount we were using in our financial plan to seed from the general fund our new surface water drainage utility fund. And so it's about half of the amount we're asking for tonight, and then we have another couple of big items that we'll dive into. In terms of sources for tonight's amendment, we do have $267,500 in grant funding and projected $1.87 million in leaseback financing for some improvements at City Hall and the Annex that we have a funding shortfall for in the SPT fund. With that overview, I will dive right into the general fund and the details of this amendment. What I plan to do this evening is give you an overview and then open it up for questions, and there are other staff members who are here to help me if you have questions that I can't answer this evening. In the general fund, in the general government division, we are recommending a $5,795,000 amendment. $5 million, as you know, is what we are using to provide initial one-time funding from the general fund for our new surface water drainage fund. I'm having to train myself to say that because I want to call it the storm drainage fund, and that's not appropriate. When we've talked to you about this transfer before, but I just want to remind you and any members of the public that may be listening, when we did the plan for this new fund, we did load about $26 million worth of funding from this transfer, potential future SPT taxes, as well as grants. The largest source of that additional funding was $15 million in grants. And from the total revenue standpoint, that was about 53% of the inflows required to support the capital in this new fund. And so I offer that just as a reminder that staff really have considered ways to infuse this fund with one-time revenue that we have from, of course, the general fund right now because of energy development in the area, and also aggressive grant seeking, which we know is a council priority.
Sorry, can you repeat that percentage? I'm sorry, I didn't catch it.
53%. Thank you. Through you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. Appreciate you shooting in. All right.
Continuing in the general government division, we are requesting a $450,000 transfer because we're asking to move the 4th Street redevelopment project from the SPT fund, where it currently is residing, to the Economic Development Fund. Not only is the use of that project perhaps more compatible with the Economic Development Fund, its intention, but we also have a shortfall in our City Hall and Annex project, which I'll be talking to you about later. And so in order to fully allocate that ballot category, our facilities category, we needed to find an alternative funding source for this 4th Street redevelopment project. And finally, rounding out this division, we're requesting a $345,000 amendment for projected debt service on a direct placement leaseback financing transaction that will be coordinated by our municipal advisor, Todd Bishop, to finance the shortfall of the City Hall and Annex project. So again, more about that later, but there are a couple of components in tonight's amendment that do relate to that project. In the planning division, you just approved the grant acceptance for $250,000 for the Reconnecting Communities grant. This appropriation allows the budget to be in place for that, fully offset by grant funding. In finance, I'm requesting a $3,900 increase for some increased software maintenance fees for our capital project budgeting software. I am very excited that our, seems like 2 decades old interface got an upgrade, but with that upgrade came additional costs that we were not expecting, and my budget is rather small, so we could not cover it. In Police Administration and Operations, we're requesting a $10,000 budget amendment funded entirely by a grant from the Wyoming Association of Risk Management. $1,500 of this grant will explore enhanced drone technology, which will allow for drone operations within structures. And the remainder of the award will be used for additional training on defensive tactics and arrest techniques, specifically jujitsu, to ensure effective and minimally injurious suspect control. So fully offset by grant funding, but we need the appropriations for it. In LARC, we are requesting an $8,142 increase for 2 information technology-related items, the first of which, for $4,000, is recommended by our IT director. It's a firewall to back up the current dispatch center protection system that is not currently budgeted. And lastly, $4,142 for an annual UPS backup service at dispatch that has also been identified as a weakness in that system. In Fire EMS, we are recommending an increase of $75,000 for 2 items. The first, $70,000, is requested to procure services for EMS billing and administration setup. This new contract will be a critical implementation component of the decision to cease provision of extraterritorial interfacility transfers for Ivinson Memorial Hospital and move to an in-house model for managing all administrative aspects of 911 response, which includes billing. Currently, the fire chief is reviewing a sole source contract with Fitch & Associates, who you may recall actually conducted our cost study for EMS services, because they're a national firm that we feel possess the expertise to ensure that our administrative systems are really set up to accomplish the significant service transition. And in particular, that important award of a competitive EMS billing services contract. The remainder of the $5,000 request in EMS is for the heater, the optional heater on the bid award you made this evening. I did not know that was for a heater, but that makes it all the more important. In engineering, we're requesting $63,000 for 2 items. The first, you approved, one of which you approved the authorization for this evening, is $59,000 to support the hire of that engineering technician, so that we are ready to go as of the fiscal year. Now, I forgot to say this earlier, but I'd like to say it now. You are not making appropriations for the new surface water drainage utility this evening. What you are doing is making appropriations in the general fund to seed the fund, and you would be making appropriations to fund a position in the general fund until this new fund is created in July of 2025, fiscal year 2026. In the budgeting process this year, you will consider many budget requests to establish the appropriations for this fund. So I want to make that really clear to you this evening. That fund will not even really be created until fiscal year 2026. The only activity you'll see in it this year is that $5 million inflow for the startup cost, for the startup funding. And the other request in engineering also relates to the creation of the surface water drainage fund. It's a $4,000 reclass placeholder so that an existing engineer can be reclassified up and take on additional duties related to this new drainage fund. In the cemetery division, we're requesting an $8,450 increase to replace items stolen from the cemetery in late October. Just because I think you'll be interested, the Laramie Police Department and staff have identified a person of interest, but we do not expect to recover any of the stolen items, which include hedge trimmers, a welder, batteries, chargers, 2 backpack blowers, 3 chainsaws, and 2 pole saws. And so our parks manager has respectfully requested to be able to purchase those items. In facilities management, we are requesting $20,000 to relocate the facilities management offices to the vacated Fleet and Streets building on 4th Street. There are going to be some small costs necessary to transfer that operation over to that facility, including some electrical work, technology installations, door access controls, and a vehicle acquisition through a trade-in with another department, because we create more value for the city by maintaining that vehicle for the small amount of trade-in we would buy. And so those operations are being centralized and to create greater operational efficiency, and moving them to that shared area is a really important part of that centralization. In recreation, we're requesting a budget increase of $13,173 for 2 items. Now, half of that, $5,673, is for the additional halftime authorization that you approved earlier this evening for recreation center programs. The total cost of that additional halftime authorization is only about $19,000, and so it really is a cost-effective way to create a little bit more bandwidth for staff. The other item you're being asked to approve is a $7,500 increase funded fully by contributions from Toyota and the NFL flag football program for flag football supplies and other youth athletic program supplies. So kind of cool there. And that's it in the general fund, but that's a lot. Just to facilitate any questions you may have, I'd be happy to pause at this time and just take questions, or I can continue. It's up to you guys.
Yeah, let's go ahead and have some questions now. Councilor Richardson, please. Just have at them.
Okay. The first one is, even though we'll be spending $70,000 if approved on the EMS services, will we still be saving based on the work we are no longer doing with the hospital? Did that make sense with that question?
Would you like me to answer? I'd be happy to answer that. Yeah. Based on the analysis I've done, based on analysis I know that former COO Malia Brown has done, yes, absolutely. Of course, we're going to be going through this period, and I'm sure the city manager will speak to this, of really right-sizing that program for our new service delivery model, and that's where this next year's budget process comes into play. And so we will be spending more money in the short term in fiscal year 2025 and saving money in the long run.
Great, thank you. And then the second.
One second, Councilor, please.
Just to add to that, thank you, Mayor and Councilor Richardson. I think Council can appreciate as well that we are going to be billing for our own E911 ambulance, and E911, excuse me. So as Director Wade has said, it's critical for us, and the Chief agrees, that we get under contract and start the ball rolling to install that capacity within our organization, so that next fall we're ready to flip the switch and take on that responsibility. So this is really proactive spending to position us to be effective in the transition.
Great, thank you. My second question, and this is, I just actually have never thought about this, and so I'm curious. Can you share why we still use the 4th Street building rather than utilizing, or whatever is happening in the 4th Street building, which I know is like mosquito and other things, rather than the North Campus?
Yes, so we do still have some staff occupying and operating out of space in the 4th Street buildings. Notably, on the west side of 4th Street, the mosquito shop, which is sort of off of our main old 4th Street campus, they continue to operate in that facility. Also, Animal Control continues to operate, and the Parks Division is continuing to operate in their old park shop. There are a lot of moving parts as far as our assessment of future ongoing needs for facilities for city staff. So what I will say to you is we're assessing all of those operations that I've mentioned there that we purposefully left there and did not move to the municipal operations campus, and identifying possibilities for future permanent homes for them. This council is tied in part to the authorization that you gave us in the budget this year to first assess our public safety facilities, and so we're going to be doing that, understanding what the future of those facilities looks like, and then taking into account those sort of residual pieces of our operations that exist at the old North 4th Street or Levante campus.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Other questions at this point?
That was my question.
Yeah, I had a similar question. All right. Director Wade, back to you.
Honorable Mayor, would you mind if I added one more follow-up item to Councilmember Richardson's question? Just for the entire council and members of the public, the amount we're recommending for the EMS work this year is only for fiscal year 25. So you are going to see likely some additional appropriations that we recommend. We think we're going to need about a year of this consulting contract to really make sure we're ready to go live, and even a couple months after we go live to make sure that administrative structure is in place. But you will see additional requests for that next year. I just don't want anyone to be misled and think this is all you will see for this contract.
Great, thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Moving on to the Economic Development Fund, we are recommending you increase appropriations in this fund by $450,000 to move the 4th Street redevelopment project for reasons I have already discussed. This will come up one more time in the SPT fund. You know how it is when we move things between funds, and that's definitely going on with this project this evening. In the Recreation Center Fund, we're requesting a budget increase of $25,236. Over half of that increase, $13,236, is the other part of that position, the additional halftime authorization that you approved this evening. The remainder, $12,000, is requested to replace the steam generator in the rec center steam room. The existing unit is still working, but it is starting to experience some performance declines, and so staff have recommended that we go ahead and obtain this additional unit, so if the other unit becomes out of service, we can minimize disruption to the facility. And wrapping up the presentation this evening, in the SPT 2018 fund, we're recommending a budget increase of $2,985,852 for 3 capital project changes, and I'll go over each one of those with you this evening. These changes are all driven by Assistant City Manager's work with architects over the past couple of years to develop good cost estimates for the work that needs to be completed at the City Hall Annex and in City Hall. So part of the amendment this evening will go right into this piece. $3,520,780 would be necessary to complete all of the renovations as outlined by the architect in the City Hall Annex, and a remodel of the City Hall basement only, so nothing on the first floor. We feel like that is really important because there's a lot of moving parts going on with our facilities right now. In particular, the public safety facility analysis and the basement of City Hall is really important, because until we free up some of that wasted space, and I love our storage too, so let's not call it wasted, we have a lot of storage downstairs, and so the plan would be to make most of that office space with minimal storage, relocate offices downstairs, and then really be set up to be in a space where we could consider the best choice for what we do with this first floor, which we're not really ready to do yet. And so that's part of what's driving our recommendation to you. We want to make sure that this work on the first floor really aligns with other things that may be in the works in the future, and that we do it well. But it will complete all of the work that's necessary at the annex. We are hopeful, because I don't think, oh, you are here this evening. Yay, good. So maybe you can speak more about it. So I'll let Todd speak maybe a little later on, because he knows more than I do. So to fund this project, we need to actually reallocate the rest of our facilities ballot category. We are so lucky because our collections on this tax have been really fast. And so we have funding in hand to be able to do this, and will likely be fully collected in the next 18 months. So yeah, really astonishing. And so we need to, in order to allocate the rest of the facilities category, move that 4th Street redevelopment project into another fund. You've seen that this evening. And we also have another project, the police HVAC replacement, that's already been complete, and we had $84,928 that we could reduce the budgetary appropriations for, to free up as much money as we could for the City Hall Annex and City Hall basement remodel project. Do note that we are planning to do lease-leaseback financing for $1.87 million of the project, just to amortize that cost out over 7 years. We are using a significant amount of one-time reserves, $5 million for the surface water drainage fund, and we just want to be mindful of spreading this cost out. Even though we have adequate resources, we know that some of our resources, you may prefer to invest them in streets and other core services, and so we thought financing these improvements would be a really smart use of resources. And that concludes my presentation of the amendment. What questions do you guys have?
Council members, any further questions? Director Wade, do you happen to know the balance of the Economic Development Fund?
I believe last time I checked it was like 1.4 million, okay. 1.3 million. Mm-hmm. Okay. And the general fund will, Mayor, provide a transfer for this project. Okay. And so the balance of that fund will not be impacted.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Any other questions, councilors? Councilor Gabriel.
I was wondering if Chief Brown could talk about jujitsu. That piqued my interest.
Yeah. Just we'll line up and we'll see who you can't beat. I imagine it's all of us that lose.
Good evening. Through you, Mayor, to answer that question. So I actually have been training in jiu-jitsu, I think, since 2008. I had the honor of receiving my black belt in 2020. And there's been a big push in law enforcement to move towards grappling arts, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, judo, probably over the last 5 years. And a lot of that is because of developments that you've seen come out of events like the UFC. So it's a much safer art, grappling arts, compared to striking, batons, tasers. There was a study done in Marietta, Georgia, and that's an agency, I believe, of about 125 officers, and they had a reduction in injuries after a year, a 48% decrease in injuries during use of force events, and a 53% decrease in injuries to suspects, decreased taser usages of approximately 54% compared to 77% among officers who weren't trained. So officers who weren't trained were using other tools about 77% of the time, and the officers who were enrolled in the program were using it about 54% of the time. And then in St. Paul, Minnesota, they saw a decrease in use of force instances of approximately 37%. And there were fewer injuries to suspects at a rate of about 44% and officers at a rate of about 25%. So it's an attempt to get our officers training outside of our walls, so hopefully they become more proficient. We're very restricted in how often we can train because of deployment issues and models. So this is hopefully an attempt to get our officers to do some of that on their own.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Other questions, council members? All right. We'll turn this over to the public. If there's any member of the public wishing to speak to this budget amendment, go ahead and raise your hand on Zoom or come forward in the room. And I do see Nancy Sindelar is on Zoom. And Nancy, I don't know, I would love your comment on this, but if your comment is on the last item too, I may have missed you. And I'm just going to let you have your comment now. Welcome, Nancy. We'll just need you to turn your camera on, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Yeah, no, my comment was on the grant to connect West Laramie.
That's all right. I think I might have just missed you on the Zoom call, so I'm just going to take your comment now. It's out of order, but I'm sure the council won't mind.
Okay, yeah, it's kind of moot because you approved it. But I was going to say that I would hope you would approve it with enthusiasm, because providing mobility opportunities for the off the main highway to get to town, to workshop, or just to enjoy themselves, we need that. Nationally, over 30% of people do not have driver's licenses, either through youth or elderly or differently abled or adjudicated, and they all deserve to have the same safe routes to town as everybody else, and that's it.
Thank you, Nancy. I'm sorry that I missed you.
Yeah. Catch you next time.
Yeah. Always improving. All right. Any other members of the public wishing to speak to this item? All right. Seeing none. Councilors, anything before the vote? Director Wade, thank you for the explanation. It made it quite digestible. It was complicated, but I appreciate it. All right. City Clerk, you can call the roll, please.
Newman.
Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
Gabriel.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 nos, Your Honor.
Thanks, City Clerk. That item's been approved. We'll move on to item 19. Councilor Pierce.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the City Council approve the professional services agreement between the City of Laramie, Wyoming and DJ&A Planning, Lakewood, Colorado, for the development of the Reconnect West Laramie Plan in an amount not to exceed $249,974 and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign.
Second.
Those numbers right? I think I actually did.
Motion by Pierce, second by Vice Mayor. I'm just going to pick from that loud noise over here. All right, Mr. Gavin, please.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this follows on the heel of the authorization of the $250,000 grant that we received from the U.S. Department of Transportation. This agreement is with a great firm out of Lakewood, as mentioned. Some members of their team have even done work already in Laramie, so that's beneficial always, but truly this just follows on the heels of the authorization and can answer any questions.
Thank you. Councilors, any questions? Okay. All right, we'll turn this over to the public. Any member of the public wishing to speak to this item can come forward in the room or raise your hand on Zoom. All right, before the vote. All right, for Nancy with enthusiasm this time, City Clerk.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 nos, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That item has been approved. We will move on to public comments on non-agenda items. Any member of the public wishing to speak to an item not on our agenda can come forward in the room or raise your hand if you're on the Zoom call. Seeing none, we will close public comments. Councilors, any future work session topics? All right.
Do we need to name the moose?
Boy, that feels like a can of worms.
Maybe
But yeah,
a contest with elementary students or
oh,
something?
that's a good idea. I love this idea.
City manager, do we have a plan?
Feels like assistant city manager snuck out at the right minute. Would have landed right at his plate.
Mayor and council, certainly, I funnily have the exact same thought today, but I would suggest that we maybe confer with Laramie Public Art Coalition, who commissioned the piece, and see if maybe they could help us with that. Sounds like something they may enjoy working with the city on.
Very good.
Thank you.
Good idea.
That's a great idea, Councilor. All right. Anything else, Councilors? Okay, Councilor Pierce, to you.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that we adjourn.
Second.
All right, motion by Pierce, second by Newman. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed say no. Councilors, we are adjourned.